Good evening and welcome to One Hub Racing. This is the prospect here. Round 8 of the championship takes us to the Styrian Mountains in Spielberg. This is the Red Bull Ring, formerly known as the Austria Ring, and the A1 Ring. Round 8 takes us here. I'm Tom Cairns in the commentary box. Alongside me is an Irish companion of mine, that is Owen Wyatt. How are you tonight, sir?
Hello Tom, hello to all the viewers as well. Another night of One Hub Racing, and it should be a very enjoyable one I think tonight. Austria, always a decent race, and very much looking forward to this one.
I'm very much looking forward to it as well. I mean, Red Bull Ring is a driver's favourite, it's a fan's favourite as well, and I'd expect the lap times to be very, very close. Despite the length of the circuit of the A1 Ring, the Red Bull Ring, I think it's 4.3 kilometres as far as I can remember. I think it's 4.3 kilometres. But either way, it's a brilliant racetrack for everyone, and I can't wait for us to get going here.
Yeah, of course, we're in the closing stages now of the season as well, so these races are becoming important, and especially after Silverstone last week, I'm hoping to see a bit of a Ferrari resurgence, because both drivers had various issues, whether it be jump starts or spinning off. So I think there's a big point to prove. We've also got both Alfa Romeo drivers back this week. Obviously Alex Lilliard missed the wet race in Silverstone, and I do think with McLaren on form as well, and the DRS trains being so important here, we could have a really competitive race tonight.
And I hope so too. Before we go on to the championship standings, I just wanted to talk about the sponsors and partners of One Hub Racing. Next Level Racing, who sponsor the league by providing an NLR direct drive stand to support the Drive of the Season award. 3M Sim Racing, who sponsor One Hub Racing by providing a pair of their sim racing gloves to the driver with the most combined total of pole positions and fastest laps. The partners being Vespa Team, who partner One Hub Racing with the championship prizes, and ERT, who support the Going Gets Tough award.
Yep, a massive thank you, of course, to all the sponsors, and as well to all of our race premium drivers. All a massive help to us, and they're the reason we go racing today.
Massively so. And in case you want to know who are the race premium drivers, Josh Wilkins, the championship leader, is one of them. His Alfa Romeo teammate Alex Lilliard is another. Jamie, Oles and Wace are also amongst those being classed in the race premium category as well. So yeah, thanks very much to all those competing, because without them we wouldn't have a championship like we have been having over the course of this season. So yeah, you mentioned about Silverstone last week, where Josh Wilkins totally dominated the race, to be quite honest with you, and would go on to take a convincing victory and a 9-point lead going into this round of Austria.
Yeah, it was total domination, and it's sort of what we've come to expect from Josh recently, because he's hit another level. He wasn't quite there at the start of the season, but we've seen now that he's more than a match for those Ferraris, and should be really the favourite to go for the championship now. He was saying in his previous interviews as well that he is feeling confident around this track again, which is probably bad news if you're a Ferrari driver who's looking at him saying that he is quick in every single sector, and even if rain gets involved, he's confident enough for that as well. I don't really see a way they're going to stop him unless he stops himself. But yeah, he's really been dominant. Another team I quickly wanted to bring up, AlphaTauri. They've got both their drivers again this week, and they were standout performers in Silverstone as well, finishing 3rd and 5th respectively. And I'm expecting stuff from them as well. I mean, all the ingredients here tonight could really affect the championship fight if Ferrari get up there and can build a gap. If they have a really good race again tonight, we know they can do it. And with so many competitive cars, they could swing championships either way.
So looking at the championship standings as it is, Josh Wilkins is 9 points clear over Fozzie Bear in the Ferrari in 2nd place. It's Jason in 3rd on 76, and Alex Lilliard, who didn't compete last week, is in 4th on 55. So realistically, it's looking like a 3-way fight for the title, but Jason most especially, he needs a very strong result here. I think he's got to feel that he has to get something very strong out of this and beat Josh Wilkins. That's his main objective.
Yeah, and he has been noted down, Jason, as the cold driver as well. We obviously have a hot and cold list of drivers who are doing well, being the hot drivers. This week it's Jimmy Mick, we'll talk about him later on, but this week Jason's the cold driver because of how strong he was at the start of the season and how he's falling back. I'm sure he will have seen that, and hopefully that gives him maybe the potential motivation that he might be looking for to try and push back up there, because he knows he can do it as well. We all know it. And as you say, it's that moment now where he has to, or else he'll lose the championship.
Just looking at some pre-race interviews, Aidan, who is one of the sort of late entries in the prospects here this season, he was asked if he was looking forward to the high-speed nature of the circuit. Said, "This will be an exciting race with the high-speed nature of the track. However, I am just focused on finishing my race." Well, that is pretty understandable, given that both of the races that Aidan's been involved with, he's actually not finished. So I think getting to the checkered flag will be his number one priority. And another question was asked to him, there's always an opportunity to overtake it, but where are you strongest on this track? And Aidan said that, I would say mainly in the first two sectors of the track, as long as I position my car correctly going into each corner, also making sure my exits are good when coming out of each corner. I suppose there's only 3 overtaking spots on this track: turn 1, turn 3 and turn 4. All the others you've got to be pretty much side by side and getting good exits from, because it's pretty much high speed corners from turn 5 onwards to the finish line.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, especially with DRS trains. It creates dirty air in the middle sector, and that means that you're going to struggle to keep up there anyway. So potential moves into 5 if you stay side by side at a 4, but definitely from that point on you've got to start backing off so you don't understeer into accidents. And we'll see how drivers all sort of deal with that tonight. I think a lot of drivers in those previous interviews, they were being asked about their best sectors, and people like Jamie, Baza, Aidan that we were talking about, Jess and Josh, they're all saying that the middle sector's their stronger sector as well. So that means that they're all going to be competitive there, and it means you're probably not going to get overtaken. So I would agree with you saying that it's pretty much 1, 3 and 4 for the overtaking.
Mm-hmm. So just looking at the stewards' briefing of last week, it was a very quiet week, in fact, in the stewards' office after round 7 at Silverstone. It gave us some great and fair racing with a minimum of incidents. Buzzer in Prospect here received a 5-second time penalty for an illegal pit entry, while another driver had to take evasive action to avoid a collision. All incidents which occurred in Precision and Pinnacle tiers were reviewed and decided they were racing incidents. Congratulations to points and podium for having a clean and incident-free race. I think that's probably the cleanest we've had combined of all the tiers so far this season.
Yeah, good to see that as well. I wonder if there's an element of everyone had to do that track for quali night, and I wonder if that has actually helped them for Silverstone and made it a good race, because we definitely had a good race here, and it's good to see other tiers were able to keep it clean. I'm hoping that they can sort of keep that up for this race as well.
And another thing to add is that in terms of the rivalries, well, Stephen and Smithy are on there. Both were victims to telemetry and ready up rules. And Chris was asked, at least you know how to wait for the lobby hose. What would you say to Stephen so he doesn't repeat this error? And Chris hasn't quite replied back to that yet. And Stephen was asked, at least you have the correct telemetry settings. How would you remind Chris to make sure he doesn't repeat this error? And he has yet to respond to it. So that's something that's just came across me, actually. So hopefully maybe we'll hear from those two maybe another week or something. We've got 18 drivers in for tonight. I'm just trying to recognise which seats are vacant so that I can tell who is not around. It may take some time for me to actually search through because there's that many. But yeah.
Mercedes cars are gone. Look, it's both Mercedes cars. Joer and Wace aren't here, I think.
So we are waiting for those two to come in. We are past the hour now, which means we should be getting on the way for qualifying. And drivers should think about maybe starting to ready up unless the host of the lobby has said otherwise. And whilst the Drivers' Championship may be interesting, you look at the Constructors' Championship in the Prospect tier, Ferrari only 12 points clear of Alfa Romeo going into the Austrian round. Bearing in mind the top 12 do score points, with 20 points for the race winner, 17 for second, 14 for third. And there's also a point each for the driver within the top 10 and for the driver that finishes outside the top 10 for the fastest lap.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the Ferrari gap is actually so small, but I suppose that's what happens when Josh gets on his form. I would just find it incredible if Ferrari managed to not win a single one of the championships. They've got to bounce back. They'll be looking at that and saying that they fall down. But as you say as well, plenty of points going down the field. I think that was something that was helping Ferrari a little bit last week because Jason did finish 11th, and in normal league racing rules that wouldn't actually get you any points, but of course here it gets you 2. And so that might help Ferrari in that constructors fight, and it could help Jason in the drivers' championship. But yeah, that's my big storyline. If you couldn't tell already, that I'm really expecting Ferrari to do something when we get to qualifying and the race, because yeah, everything's under threat for them now.
And one driver to look out for, actually, who is seemingly making his debut tonight, is Inossia Kia in the Haas. Now, I don't know if you know anything about this driver, because this is a new one for me, Owen, but what could he be thinking going into this round? You can see a lot of everyone is readying up now.
I do think I've commentated on him before. I'm not 100% sure in what context, but I definitely recognise the name. And I do think, from what I saw, he was decent enough. And especially, I mean, the owners here have said he's good enough to race, so I expect he'll be fine. And obviously Haas stepping on a little bit of inconsistent form. I suppose he'll be looking just to get some points on the board. And I think he can achieve that as well.
So we're ready to go for qualifying. And so we should be looking for some fast times here in this 18 minutes. It'll be a short qualifying of 18 minutes and then a 36 lap Austrian Grand Prix here at the Red Bull Ring. The drivers will have the opportunity to sort out their race setups as well, because remember, they are under Part 5 rules once their cars do leave the garages, and the only things that they can change are tyres, front wings and front downforce in case the conditions do happen to change.
Now, I think that the drivers all have to make sure they ready up on the tyre selection screen. It's not something that people, I think, have had to worry about before, but from what I've been hearing, this can cause people to be kicked out of lobbies if they don't. I hope it doesn't do that, but I just seen a few people not readying up, and yeah, it's been an issue we've seen before, and there are a couple that haven't readied up, and we've been warned about it, but hopefully that isn't a big issue. But let's see what the conditions are. I think everyone has got in, so isn't an issue this time. And yeah, all 18 are in. I was also going to quickly bring up the press conference because I saw that Infamous, who is here tonight, was asked a question basically saying that he's making his debut in One Hub this season. He's holding his own solidly in the top 10 but falling short in the constructors. And he was asked, might you want to be teaming up with someone a bit better next season? And he just straight up blanked that question as well. So the rivalries questions were blanked, and the press conference question was blanked. And in fairness, I don't really actually blame Infamous, because he was basically sort of being asked to throw his teammate under the bus. I thought that's a bit of a disrespectful thing to ask, actually.
So we've just seen Inossia, the debutant for tonight, coming into turn 3 already. I don't know if he's done any setup on his house. He may have had a setup already ready for himself in preparation, so that saves him some time, which is crucial for any racetrack really, because I think unlike the Red Bull Ring, a lot of tracks do require a lot of time for you to do an out lap, a flying lap, and then an in lap, which normally takes around like 6 minutes. Whereas here at the Red Bull Ring, I think you can complete your out lap, flying lap, and in lap in a space of just over 4 minutes.
Yeah, you should be able to theoretically get 4 runs in, but obviously you only have 3 sets of soft tyres this year. This is where this track actually a little bit less chaotic than last year, because the tyres are a bit different for quality. But yeah, it means they'll be under absolutely no pressure whatsoever to get all these laps done, as Kia does start his lap. And we'll see how he deals with track limits around here, because turn 1 has been so difficult to get right on this track this year. I was practicing for my race later on in Pinnacle. I swear it's one of the most difficult corners to get right, because if you aren't understeering wide, you're cutting the corner. And I do wonder how many of the bigger drivers, the faster drivers, are going to get caught out by that.
So Kia through turn 3 and is coming towards the right-hander of turn 4. So it's a 4.3 kilometre track, is the Red Bull Ring. It's got 10 corners. It's clockwise as well, which means we expect the front lefts to be taking more of the beating than the rights. So Kia going through 46.2 by this stage of the lap, keeps his car within the track limits. He's just focusing on getting a banker lap in, I think, is key for his first time. I think that's the thing with first time laps, is there's quite a bit of rustiness to the cars, because, you know, if people are coming home from work or whatever, or doing what they have been doing, and they sort of start going out onto the racetrack, sometimes you don't get the feel that you want straight away, and it sometimes takes some laps to really get up to speed. As Matthias, that's a body blow for him there.
Has he spun on the exit of turn 1? Is that what's caused that, I wonder?
I think it is,
obviously, spinning at turn 1 feeds you directly into the pit lane exit, and there must have been a car right there, and that's probably why he's ended up being disqualified. So turn 1's already caught out one driver, a very unlucky disqualification. But yeah, nothing he can do about that, sadly, so we've already lost one car in this session. As Jess goes up to the top.
And on the mediums, actually, so that's actually a decent time from Jess to begin with. I don't know how much practice she had just before this session, but so far it's a decent lap on the mediums, but she knows there's definitely a lot more time to be found. Ols has just begun a fast lap. We'll go to... I wonder if Enos is doing another lap, actually, or is he coming into the pits? He's gone into the pits. So we'll go to Fozzie Bear next as he goes through turn 10 now. We should be seeing a lot faster that time from him than what we've seen from the others. It's a 1 minute 5.1 for him. Jamie goes second on a 1 minute 5.5 on the mediums in the McLaren.
So all these drivers on mediums, they are going to get 4 runs in then. That's why they're doing their first laps on mediums, just so they can do the rest of them all on the softs. I guess it means they have got one more lap of experience out there. One less lap to worry about in case you have a corner cutting issue, as Jason now goes up to the top on I think his second lap on those tyres. And we also saw both the AlphaTauris up there as well in third and fourth. And who else is out there? How is Josh Wilkins and Alex Lilliard doing? They're just on the starts of their laps, and I think actually Josh is invalidated as well. Not the ideal start for him. Alls in the McLaren are in form. They're 5 and 7 now at the minute. And yeah, Infamous, he's on a lap as well. The rest of them I think are all on in laps or out laps. But yeah, we'll see how they all get on. Red Bull's still running in white, by the way, in case you are confused by the colours.
So just seen Smithy coming through in the AlphaTauri, stays to the outside, which means he'll go on and complete this lap actually. I don't know if he... Oh no, he's coming into the pits. I'll take my word about that. So he's in now. Who's going down the pit straight though? Is that one of the Williams who's going through? I think that's Stephen, isn't it? He improves his... No, he doesn't improve his time. 300's down from before. So we'll go to Josh Wilkins next, or Alex Lilliard actually, who's going down the pit straight. And this lap time of his is a 1 minute 5.4, and he goes to P4 with that one. Indecisive Mackey's on a lap at the moment in the Red Bull. How is he getting on? 45.2 by the second sector. And we nearly exceeded track limits there. That's the thing with turn 8 actually. It's so easy for that to get onto that curve and ruin your lap as a result of it.
You could easily end your session on that turn 8 curve, because if you get too much onto it, you'll spin, and it's so easy to hit the wall from there. As Indecisive moves up into 6th place. So yeah, they gotta watch out for the curves, especially there. That's where I've been caught out the most, as Josh goes up to 2nd place when I've been practicing. It's definitely turn 8 that has been causing me to hit the wall the most anyway.
Infamous on a 1 minute 5.7 find. Here, the game decides to glitch as he goes through turn 9, and so he backs out of it. We've got one of the Hasses going through, that'll be Kia, who's starting another lap. He's not taking the best of exits, though, coming out of turn 10, so I don't know what's up with him at the moment. I don't know if that's just a sign of rustiness from him, but he is just starting another lap now. Oh, he's lost it coming out of turn 1 and nearly drops it completely.
Yeah, you can see the difficulties there, but at least he's keeping it valid. Every lap you do is more experience, especially if you're maybe a new driver like Kia is. It's better to be out there making mistakes than not being out there at all. But it is going to be a slow lap from him. I think TJW has started a 2nd lap for Aston Martin. He got the first one wrong, and we'll see how he does this time round. I've noticed that both the Mercedes cars are now here and on the timing board, so will they be able to get out and put some laps on the board? Would be nice to see how they do. But yeah, we'll keep our eye on them too. Back to TJW though, he's still going strong. Has a Ferrari behind, I think he's on an outlap though, so shouldn't be much of a problem. Kia never improved in the middle sector, so he's not going to find himself setting a faster lap time, so he'll just go again, although his ERS is quite low, so it'll probably end up not being an improvement either. TJW, his first lap was 12 seconds off the pace, so the in-game sector time telling us 7 seconds up isn't really much of help to us. Let's see though how the final lap is going to go, and that is 11 seconds up and 3rd place. Much nicer.
A lot nicer of a lap, and Austria Kia is on 1 minute 6.6. I don't know if he improved last time, but he's gone on another lap anyway. So just look to see what the AlphaTauris are getting on at the moment. They're 5th and 7th at the moment. Smithy's just started another flying lap, and I think so is Jessa in the Alpine. Look at Stephen. Is it Stephen? No, it's Storm, who's on a flying lap, or was on a flying lap until his lap time is invalidated. He begins to start another one. So let's see how Kia gets on in the Haas as he goes through turn 9. Just taking it cautiously at the moment. Carried too much speed a little bit into turn 10, or just turned in too late. He does not improve his time and therefore stays in 14th, slowest of all the times at the moment. One of the McLarens has gone over the line. That's Jamie, who goes up to 3rd place on a 1 minute 4.9. I was trying to pick up Jamie on the stream at the moment. So there we go. 1 minute 4.9 for Jamie in the McLaren, who's been in good form this season.
Yeah, good lap from him. I was just watching Smithy there. He might have got a tad blocked in the final corner. Will he still find improvement for AlphaTauri? Yes, but he'll have more time in that. Currently AlphaTauri is sitting 6th and 7th. As the skies darken a little bit, that'll probably lower the track temperature. It might reduce overheating in the final sector. You might have a chance of getting the best lap times at this stage, just because those last 2 corners with a slightly colder track temperature will be a little bit easier for the drivers to deal with. So look out for that as they continue their last few laps.
So Storm posts his first time in the session. It was a 1 minute 7.2, which puts him into 15th. Aidan running a bit wider turn 8, but luckily kept his lap valid. He needs to be careful because he's got one of the Red Bulls behind him who look like is on a flying lap.
Oh, indecisive. Has he binned it in the pit lane entry?
I think he has,
It looked
yeah.
like he was going off. I think also Smithy's put it in the wall as well. I just got a glimpse of that. Was that even in turn 8, I wonder, as Bazis starts a lap? Certainly there seems to be a few cars making mistakes. Alex Lilliard was also, I think, in the wall, but he's got it going again, so no worries for him about not finishing the session, although he does only sit in P9. And yes, that was on the exit of turn 8 for Smithy. And that's what I was saying. I wonder if he has hit that inside curb on it and it's just caused the car to slide and put him out. I can't say much for Indecisive's one though, because I didn't really see any of it. But none of that is going to affect Josh Wilkins' lap, which is an improvement so far, but is also invalidated. And will he pit or will he just go for another one? I think he's been saving his ERS actually. And we'll see him go again.
So just watching Infamous taking it easy through 9. Turn 10 was not so good, unfortunately. Does he improve his lap time? He does by nearly 3 tenths and he goes 9th. So this has actually been a better session from Infamous than we've seen. He's even in front of Alex Lilliard, who is desperate to find a lot more time than what he's been doing during the course of this session. He's gone nearly a quarter of a second up through sector 1 alone. Let's see how he's getting on through sector 2. 4 tenths up by this point. And he should go into the 1 minute 4s, I would say, with this one he's about to post. Jason has just posted the fastest first sector time of anyone.
Yeah, he invalidated his time. It wasn't actually an overall improvement for Jason, so there's time there to be found. Josh Wilkins, though, you're going to want to watch him. As Alex Lilliard, his teammate, goes up to 3rd place. Josh is certainly looking good for P1 if he can keep this all good in the last 2 corners. Let's see. No invalidation so far. Hits the apex of the final corner and gets himself onto the main straight. Is it enough to go past Jason? Yes, it is, by nearly 2 tenths of a second.
A superb lap there from Wilkins to go to P1, and that moves him in front of Jason, crucially for the championship. And I have to say that was a decent lap time, but I'm sure there's definitely still more to be found. The Mercedes cars are, well, both of them are on invalid lap times there, and Wace needs to get a move on here. He's got one of the Alpines ahead of him, that is Storm, who needs to move out of the way, and he's not doing so. Oh, this is poor from Storm. I'm really sorry, but that's really poor from him. Blocking Wace is flying lap there. So that's just a lack of awareness from Storm. He does pull to the side and allows the Ferrari of Fossibird to go past. But yeah, that was a clear block from the Alpine.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't intentional. I think we've seen a couple of cars straight line turn 3 to get out of the way, and I wondered if he was actually trying to do that, but he just sort of didn't realise how quickly Wace was going, because ironically he was actually giving him the perfect slipstream, which is why he caught so quickly. So that's probably a bit of a miscommunication there between those two. Wace is now heading into the pit lane. He's nearly hitting the tyre of Indecisive. Lucky that thing's despawned, because it shouldn't really be floating up in the air like that. Hopefully it's not much of a distraction for the drivers, as we see a few more starting their laps, and let's see who's going to be finishing ones. I did notice that TJW had been off the road. He's recovered back into the track, but needs to get back into position to set another lap soon, because there is only 4 minutes left. I think Kia is finishing another lap, but is only still 15th. And it's now raining, so that is probably it in terms of qualifying, because I don't think at this stage you'll be able to find much of an improvement. But if anyone is on a lap still right now, perhaps they could finish it off and go quicker, but I don't think anyone is. Let's keep an eye on Fozzie Bear. Let's keep an eye on him, because, and Jess as well, but Fozzie's the only sort of front runner who's anywhere near close to the end of a lap. And he is improving. This could get a top 3 position, but look at how wet it is already as he's heading through. This is crucial towards his championship, because he's 4 places behind Josh Wilkins right now, who got his pole position lap in at the very best time in the session. Can Fozzie do anything? It was an improvement though, so anyone heading through this last sector, there's a potential for an improvement on a lap. I just hope they don't end up sticking it in the wall, because this is where it gets really risky.
So Storm improving his lap time, 1 at 6.9, which is 3.5 tenths of a second faster than what he had set beforehand. Jason is just about to start a flying lap, but has he left it too late with the rain only just coming down? Look at Inosia as well, who is not on a good lap again, unfortunately. He's had a session to forget, it has to be said. But he is at least in front of Storm and Aidan with the laps he has produced. And I'm not sure if we're going to see any more improvements at the moment. It doesn't look like we are. Well, Jason's only 700ths of a second down by Sector 1. So you can see how greasy it's becoming now. It's easy to get the wheel spin. That's Aidan in front of Jason now, which makes it even worse, because Aidan, I believe, is on a flying lap as much as Jason is.
Yeah, he's also on a flying lap, so there's nothing Jason can do about this. I don't think, though, as you say, it's going to make much of a difference because of how greasy the track has got now. You can see that the Ferrari is sliding so much, and he's 1.3 seconds down now in that middle sector. So no improvement is going to be made by anyone now, I don't think, till towards the end of the session, apart from maybe Aidan. I suppose he has the time that's a bit off the pace anyway. Perhaps he can find something. Same with Alls, who missed a little bit of the session, but now it's just not enough, unfortunately. And no one is making any time up, and I think as well Jason's ended up in the wall. Infamous is backwards, and Storm's also into the wall. I think there's a few cars having accidents out there now, and that was on a straight as well, was it, for Stephen, who's put it in the wall. And so you can tell that the track is just too wet. Baz is going out there for a little bit of a show run, because there's absolutely no way you're going to find improvement, and that means that Josh Wilkins then once again is that man in P1. We're getting a bit used to that now, aren't we?
Yeah, he's been in red hot form this season, has Josh Wilkins, and looking very good for the championship. Just to correct you a little bit as well, Owen, Jason didn't actually crash out. He actually retired on circuit via the pause menu, which you're not really supposed to do
Right.
in one-hub racing. So one of the stewards will be having words with him, because that could have impeded someone else's lap in case they were on it. I suppose the saving grace is that the rain was coming down and everyone wasn't improving, but still, you can't really be retiring from the session via the pause menu whilst you're out on track.
No, that's not really something you want to see. So we've got a little bit of dead time now. I'll wait for these cars to head round. So, shall we see what the drivers in the press conference had to say about qualifying position? Because that is one of the things that was being brought up. We like to say had 6 drivers answering questions on this one. It was a good turnout from the guys this week. And so, like I say, the main question here was quick lap time, shorter track. Would you say quality is the most important here of the final rounds? And we did get a few answers. Jamie says he thinks so because the DRS trains being a factor. Progress through the field would be tricky, so he would be happy with that P4 slot because he's already nicely up there. Baza says that there will be DRS trains. He'll be thinking about those from... where is he actually? He's P9, so he will be thinking about that quite a bit. I think a few other drivers are also agreeing with us as well. It's the general idea. Aidan thought quality would be more important than usual. Josh says you can't make many mistakes on a qualifying lap around here. And Alex as well says, actually, quality's not necessarily that important because there's good places to overtake if he has the speed. He'll be hoping he has the speed up in P3. Could he be on to pick up his first ever win? He has a really good shot at this. And Jess says that thanks to DRS trains and dirty air, qualifying could be essential. So basically, a qualifying system that gets curtailed by rain like this, those earlier sort of banco laps have proven so important. And could it be that Josh and Alex Lilliard for Alfa Romeo being at the front could be vital to them winning both championships this season?
I think we've got to give credit to the likes of Infamous, Indecisive, Mackie and Jess qualifying where they are. Infamous, P7, what a brilliant job from him. I think that must be his best qualifying of the season, or most certainly one of the best qualifying he has had in the prospects here in One Hub Racing this season. Everyone has got over the line now or is in the pit lane, so we should be going to the full classification and run down on who is lined up where on the grid. I think Waze has just been disqualified from the session as well for facing the wrong way, so that meant he has lost a position on the grid, but I'm not sure if he'll be too fussed about that. So we'll run down on the classification in terms of qualifying who's lined up where on the grid. So Wilkins is on pole, nearly 2 tenths clear of Jason in second. It's Alex Illiot and Jamie on the second row. Fozzie Bear in 5th place. He won't be too happy with that one, to be quite honest with you. He's got a lot of work to do in the race. TJW 6th, Infamous in a brilliant 7th place. Good effort from him. Yo at 8th, Buzzer 9th, and Stephen running out the top 10. All the drivers in the top 10 will start the race on the softs unless it rains. Smithy 11th alongside Mackie 12th. Then it's Jess and Ols on the 7th row. Kier starts 15th for his first race ahead of Storm in 16th. West and Demon on row 9 and Waze and Matthias at the back. Matthias, who was on pole last week at Silverstone, finds himself last 7 days later. How times can change so quickly.
Yeah, that is as big a reversal of fortune as you could imagine, I suppose. But it could mean a good fight back in the race. Could be quite entertaining to watch. Let's see, though, what this weather's going to do. We're going to have another wet race this season after Silverstone last week. Oh, yes, we are. And that is full wet conditions, surely. That will be, because you can see in the Williams garage they've got full wets there. So surely that means that we're going to see drivers starting on the full wets. Isn't it a good thing, Tom, then? That was another one of the questions in the press conference. How are drivers looking towards the rain today? I think Baza was one of the drivers who says he was feeling confident about the rain, but I was hoping it was going to rain because Josh says if it rains, he will have the same result as last week, and he dominated the race last week. So Josh is effectively turned around again. Good confidence from him. So many drivers end up being a bit sort of cagey when it comes to this sort of thing, but just like last week, he's turned around and says, I'm going to win this. And well, here's his chance to once again prove himself.
And we're just less than 30 seconds away from the start of the formation. That there's a few buzzer fans coming in saying on the Twitch live Twitch chat. So hello to you all, and best of luck to Buzzer, who's managed to qualify in the top 10 again for Alpha Tauri, and he'll be hoping to maybe finish on the podium. I mean, to be honest, with the conditions as they are, who knows who could come out on top? It could just take one mistake for things to change in the race. And the drivers are about to go off on their formation lap. We don't need to go in too much detail in terms of who's starting and what. Everyone is all starting on the full wets.
I think another interesting answer, from the are you prepared for weather question was that Jamie turned around and says he had a huge confidence boost last week. Obviously, he got a podium finish in the rain, and he is now a lot more confident about these conditions. And you will have noticed that he was one of a few drivers, or I think it was only him and Baza, who did intermediate laps at the end of that qualifying session. I was wondering why they were doing those, but it makes more sense now, because it'll surely end up in intermediate conditions. Have they already got their wet setups prepared? Were they testing them at the end of that qualifying session? Could their couple of laps of experience tonight already be giving them a little bit of an advantage tonight? Because that is really interesting stuff from Jamie. Good tactical play.
Good tactical play indeed. Well, last week he was able to get on the podium up to second place. He finished third on the road, but was promoted to second because of Buzz's time penalty for his illegal pit entry. So Jamie looking to continue that kind of form into the race. At the moment in the championship standings, he is fifth on 53 points, just a couple of points shy of Alex Lilliart, the driver who is lining up against on row 2. So Wilkins coming round then to complete the formation lap. What are you looking out for in this one then, Owen? It's pretty much anyone's for the victory here today.
Yeah, do you know, I don't want to be the guy that says I don't want the guys at the front to win, but wouldn't it be just great to see Alex Lilliart and Jamie Meck going at it for the victory? I think these are two drivers that have the experience and the confidence and the qualifying position to really make this work tonight. And I really hope these two can do well, because this might be their best shot, really. Alex here, he's also prepared for the conditions. He said it himself earlier on. Jamie's the hot driver at the minute. He's the driver everyone's looking at. Can they get a good start to this race and beat Josh Wilkins and Jason off the line? Because I do think if Josh Wilkins gets away, he'll stay ahead. But let's see what happens. Really, anything could happen here.
Matthias taking up the last position on the grid then. We are ready to go here at the Rebel Ring. Round 8, 3 races to go, 9 points is the championship gap. Wilkins, can he lead the field into turn 1? It's lights out, and away we go. Wilkins gets off the line, okay. Jason, I think he reacted better at the start. He's going to be on the inside. Into turn 1 he goes, and Jason takes the lead into turn 1. So Jason makes a great start there. Wilkins taking it cautiously. He knows the situation in the championship and doesn't take too many races. There's an incident at the back involving Ols, and one of the Mercedes, I think, Waze out of the race.
Yep, that was Ols as well off the track, and Storm Kings. That could be a full safety car now, it is indeed. And Stevens had a collision with, who would that be? And that must be Infamous he's had a collision with. And is there more stuff going on now under safety car? Because Baza has also hit the back of Joer. A lot of incidents going on in the early stages of this wet race. But it was Jason who got off the line fastest and really took advantage by passing Josh Wilkins into turn 1. Still more penalties going on out there for overtaking, I'd imagine, under safety car for Baza there. So he's already picked up, I think, 10 seconds of penalties on this first lap alone. And well, this is good news, ironically, if you're Storm Kings, because this safety car means that this front wing change and Infamous's front wing change will effectively be a free stop. Because remember, even in a wet race, you have got to make 2 stops. So this is not race over for these two yet.
No, definitely not. And I can tell you the drivers who are without front wings at the moment, Smithy is one of them. Jess has got damage to the right side of her front wing. And Infamous as well, his front wing completely gone. So Infamous, who started the race 7th on the grid, his best qualifying of the season, has got himself with it all to do. All that hard work has come undone already as drivers complete lap 1. So your race order at the moment is that Jason leads, ahead of Wilkins in 2nd, Alex Elliott 3rd and Jamie 4th, and Fuzzy Bear 5th. So apart from the top 2 that swapped, the top 5 have remained the same. TJW is in 6th place in the Aston Martin, so he's not changed the position from where he started. Joey is 7th, Buzz at 8th, Stephen 9th, and Mackie making a couple of positions in 10th place. I can tell you that Aidan's made up 6 places to 11th, and Matthias from the back is already up into P12, so a good start from him. And we've got a total of 6 drivers in the pits needing new front wings.
Yeah, and none of the front runners have taken a stop. So that now means that all these 6 people who've made their first mandatory pit stop get to catch up. And they will have a decent shot of breaking back into the top 10 again. Unless, of course, we end up needing a change to inters and then a change to dries, in which case, well, you'll have to make 2 stops to make that work. But let's say, in theory, that you could do this on a 1 stop from now till inters, let's say, and get those to the end of the race. It means that these guys at the back have got an instant advantage, because they only have to worry about one stop for the crossover. The others are going to have to think about this really a lot more tactically. And yeah, I'd be keeping my eye on the likes of Demon, who leads this pack of cars that pitted. I don't think he had any damage. I think he did that tactically.
So 2 drivers with penalties at the moment. Buzz has got 10 seconds worth, one for a collision, and the other for ignoring yellow flags. And Stephen's penalty is for a collision. Then Nosia, Kia, the debutant for tonight, is deciding to come into the pits. I suppose he hasn't got anything to lose if he decides to pit now. So here he comes then.
It's a free pit stop. I know it drops into the back of the field, but in the long run, you will be right on the back of the field, not 20 seconds away from it. And so it is a net gain pitting at this stage still. And I tell you even more, he might well even not come out in last place. He should beat Storm Keynes out, because Storm had to hold... Oh, he's hit the wall. Don't hit the wall too much, you'll end up having to pit again. But he was held behind Jess, who also pitted. That's why he's so far behind. But they should both catch up, Kia and Storm, before the end of the safety car lap, which means hopefully at the end of lap 3, we'll be ready to go race it again.
I should think so too. I think Storm will catch up to the back of the field before the safety car goes through the second time being. So, Jason got off to a good start. It was the start he needed. For Josh Wilkins, he cannot afford to be taking too many risks. He's got a 9-point lead coming into this race, with him in second place and Fozzie Bear in 5th, trying to work out the point system actually, because it's 20 points for a victory, 17 for second, 14 for third. I believe it's 10 points for 5th, but I could be wrong, so you may have to fill me in on that, Owen. But either way,
sounds about right, doesn't it?
It sounds about right, but it's worth checking anyway. The safety car lights are still on, which means it'll go around for one more lap, and I wonder if we'll see more and more drivers coming into the pits to take one of their 2 mandatory pit stops.
Yes, let's see. Anyone coming in? No, I don't think anyone is coming in. Yeah, you are right. It is 10 points for 5th, so that is what we're looking now. And yeah, no one is pitting then. We're all just staying in line. I was inclined to believe we were probably going to go racing at the end of that last lap, but the game has denied us from going, and we're left waiting for a 4th safety car lap then to come to a close. And it will be Jason who leads the pack away. Now obviously restarting the race isn't necessarily the easiest task in the world when you're on the wets, because you have to decide that moment to go. And if you go just a little bit too hard on that start, you know, trying to catch your rival behind off guard, you could easily find yourself being caught off guard by the lack of grip. So Jason will have to be careful on this restart. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. Now, let's say he is a good driver. He is on the cold list, but that's because they know he's capable of this, leading a race from the front. And so the cold driver could be on for a victory, but we are so far away from the checkered flag. I would definitely stay tuned into this one. And there's been some sort of incident, because Alls is cutting through the field now. And is this some sort of glitch? Because I'm not sure he's got any control over this, but Alls is well into the lead of this race, isn't he? Because
yeah,
and he's just doing his own thing, isn't he? I'm not sure Alls is actually here. What a bizarre incident. Now, is he going to go? And can the other drivers actually see what's going on there? Because it feels to me that they're all a bit oblivious to this. Alls has got that big X over his name, so hopefully he disconnects. But yeah, Alls is driving off in the distance, and Jason's none the wiser. He has got away, so we'll ignore Alls for now, because that car is absolutely not going to be able to keep that position. And he has gone now. And look at that from Fozzie Bear. There's a crash.
Yeah,
I think Alex Lilliard went too early. He's put the brakes on, and it's caused a massive Constantina effect. And Jamie Rett's gone off the track as well.
He has, and Jamie off the track on the exit of the Niki Lauda curve, so he goes to the back of the field. So McLaren's race has gone from bad to worse, as Alls has just picked up a drive-through penalty for ignoring the yellow flag there. So I'm afraid that's a double whammy there for McLaren. It's just gone horribly wrong for them on the restart. But yeah, like you say, Alex Lilliard jammed on the brakes and almost caused a similar accident to what we saw in the Tuscan Grand Prix Mugello last year, as Aidan has also gone off the track in the Williams.
Yeah, and that is front wing damage to TJW. So Alex Lilliard was hit by another car when he put the brakes on, and I can't help but think, as Kia sends it into the gravel, that I can't help but think that Alex Lilliart's in for a penalty there. I don't really think there's any way you can excuse something like that, unfortunately. And as you can see, it's ruining the Aston Martin's race right now. Look at him, he's just got no grip, he's got nothing in turning the car. And
oh, someone's off as well. I think that maybe Oles actually just going into the pit. Sorry to
yeah.
interrupt you there, Owen.
No,
I was just... And TJW should be going in at the end of this lap. I think he is, yeah.
Just wanted to point out that in all of this, Smithy has emerged as the lead car of the one-stoppers. And he's already in 9th place, and there's fights going on ahead of him as well, which he can help to catch up onto. So all that shenanigans that was happening with Alex on that restart has actually really helped Smithy to start closing in on these guys, because it's Joe and Steven fighting away hard for 5th place, and he's all catching up on. As you can see, Joe off the track now. And all this is just slowing these guys down, because I can't help but think Smithy is in a massively strong position. He's carving his way through the field as well, ahead of Indecisive in P8. Where did he start? I think he already is ahead of where he started now. He started 11th, he's up to 8th, he's already made a pit stop. He's in superb positioning, but it looks to me like this track's almost ready for intermediates. So I wonder if intermediates can really get to the end. So perhaps one stopping until the end might not be too viable. But either way, he's still higher than where he started regardless, so it's not worked out too badly for him.
I mean, you don't want to go too early on the intermediates because there may be too much standing water at the moment. And if it does dry out, you know, if you're on more worn intermediates than the others, you are prone to having a puncher. As Wilkins posts a new fastest lap, which will be crucial for him because you do get a championship point for setting the fastest lap out of those in the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely right. We're going to have to keep our eye on that as this race progresses. Obviously, no DRS to worry about, so Jason's 1.4 seconds clear anyway. He just has a track to himself now just to keep this on the island. A lot of drivers were saying earlier on that their main goal almost is to just try and get no penalties. And it'll be crucial in situations like this, especially if we do end up on dries later on and you do end up in a DRS train, because you will just be stuck with DRS. And so, yeah, they'll be worried about those penalties in this situation now. So they might be driving a little bit less aggressively in this stage of the race. But we'll see how they all handle it. Some drivers will obviously do it in different ways to others, but it's just worth thinking about when you see the leading fight.
And Jamie passing Jess as well for 12th place, so he's starting to make his way back through the field. And Buzzer in 4th position. With that penalty hanging over in 10 seconds it is, well, you can only take a maximum of 5 seconds at each pit stop. Buzzer hasn't pitted in this race yet, so I suppose when he comes in, providing he does not break the pit lane speed limit, he should be able to take both of those as Storm gets the first track limits penalty of the race.
Yeah, so obviously with the 10-second penalty that Buzzer has, of course, as you say, he will take that all in the race, so there's no way he could even petition for that to be removed, because especially that ignoring yellow flags penalty, I don't really see how he could have managed that on purpose. But, well, he's going to have to deal with it, I suppose. P4 is not a bad place to be, and he should honestly still be in top 12 definitely after the 5 seconds, the 10 seconds anyway, so I don't think it'll be a massive disaster from those penalties, but we'll see how he gets on. Jamie is now the first driver onto the intermediates, so after his spin on the restart, he's looking to try and make some ground back up. I don't see any reason why this tire shouldn't be faster considerably, to be honest with you. The track certainly looks ready. You can see a darker line appearing on the racing line, which would indicate to me that standing water is gone, as Smithy round the outside of Alex Lilliart into turn 5, and this is what we're saying. You can manage turn 5 side by side, but anything after that you just can't do. And Smithy making it work, and up into P7 now. What a fantastic race he's having so far.
It's been a ding-dong race, hasn't it, for Smithy? And like you were mentioning, Jamie's the first driver to go onto the intermediates, so do keep an eye out for...
faster, look.
Yeah, you can tell by the clear track he's got, so this could well be the time to go onto the intermediates for these drivers. But the only problem is, if you've got two drivers nipping top with each other, like Fossibert, for instance, who's third on the road, Jason in the lead, Fossibert may be needing to stay out another lap.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I'm not sure if Jamie hit Kia there as Kia was pitting. I think they got away with it. But, yeah, these pit stops are going to mess a lot up, aren't they? And they have to pit soon. I don't know why they're still out there, to be honest. I think Jamie should set a faster lap this time round, I'm sure of it.
Well, the fastest lap at the moment is a 1:16.2, which is set by Josh Wilkins. So we'll see how Jamie gets on. He's a 10th down from before through sector 1. As Inossia exits the pits now. I think that's 2 pit stops he's made in this race, so he could technically go to the end of this race now without pitting again.
Yeah, I might need a safety car or two to make it work, but in these sorts of conditions when the track is crossing over, it's not actually that unlikely. So we'll see how Kia gets on as Jamie continues on. Stephen is the first of the sort of leading pack to pit, along with Matthias, and are we seeing a big improvement from Jamie on this lap? He looks a bit passive actually out there. I thought he'd be going a bit quicker than this.
I wonder if he's gone a bit too soon, if I'm honest with you, but Jamie's okay at the moment. I think it's round about the same in terms of lap time between the intermediates and the wets, so we'll see what Jamie's time is like. 1:16.2 is the fastest time. It's a 1:16.8, but that's his personal best lap of the race so far in this one.
Yes, 4/10 off the race leader's pace, so in a lap or two that should be fine. As Smithy gets past Joe into P5, and the 2 Red Bull swap places, so Infamous already ahead of his teammates, despite losing that frontman earlier on in the race, and obviously he's already made 1 stop, so his race isn't actually going too bad as it turns out, as they all head round. Stephen did come out ahead of Jamie, by the way, but I wonder if Jamie's going to close up. Aidan's holding up a few drivers. Storm and Alls are all over him. Alls appears to be back in the running, and he's taken a drive-through penalty that he got earlier on, even though it wasn't really his fault. You've got to take it. And he appears to be back driving normally. As we see, Alex Lilliard has made a position. That's because we've got some pit stops going on. We see Fozzie Bear, we see Baza, we see Joa, we see Infamous. It's all for intermediates, this.
Yeah, so Fozzie Bear coming in, so I'm actually surprised Jason didn't pit in first, if I'm honest with you, unless Fozzie Bear decided that he wanted to go in first. So Fozzie Bear rejoins in 6th place on the road, and he's got clear track ahead of him, so this has worked out nicely actually for Fozzie Bear. It's just depending how the others get on. Now Jamie's set the fastest up of the race. Surely this must be the time for the leaders to be coming in now for intermediates.
Yeah, I think this is the moment now, as Jamie's already back up into the top 10, look, you can see, so him pitting a little bit earlier is working out a little bit now. But as you say, Fozzie Bear has the free air. I wonder what he can do with this. Will he be instantly on the pace, or will he take a lap or two, a bit like Jamie Met did, because this could be really important towards how his race goes, as surely we're watching the top 2 pitting, and yes, we are. Now, they're going to keep their speed limits okay. It's something we see happen so often where they just go slightly over. I'm sure they're both being very careful. You can see Josh being actually extremely careful. Smithy is making his potentially final stop. I'm not going to, touch wood on this one, but could we be seeing Smithy go into the end on this tyre? If it doesn't go to dries, I can't see why he can't at least give it a go.
So Smithy in for his 2nd stop of the race. Intermediates go on the AlphaTauri as Wilkins rejoins. Where is Fozzie Bear at the moment? Fozzie Bear is actually still behind him, so Wilkins is ahead of his nearest championship rival in 2nd place now, and Jamie continuing to post fastest laps.
Yeah, that's a lot faster now than what he was seeing before. Alex Lilliard has now come out, and he's in the middle of such a big pack, which is being led by, sorts of Smithy, but really probably Joer and Stephen. Because I imagine Smithy will be quicker than these guys. He seems like he's got the pace, and so that is a big train with no DRS. And so it might be even more difficult to overtake in a trail like this than before. So I wonder if we're going to see that sort of 5th to 12th area not move around too much. We'll need to keep an eye on it. But Alex Lilliard's race, well, it's in a lot of trouble, isn't it? I mean, he's already lost so many positions, and there could be points lost here for Alfa Romeo in the Constructors' Championship. They might find themselves with only 1 car getting points today, while Ferrari sit 1 and 3.
That's a good point. And Alex Lilliard will be under investigation, I imagine, for what happened on the restart where he jammed on the brakes.
Oh, he's been hit. He's been hit by Infamous, who's gone barreling into the back. He's so much quicker than the Alfa Romeo, and I expected Alex to be so slow in turn 9. And that could easily have wiped a couple of cars out of the race. As we see, Joe and Stephen taking very different lines for that first corner, but Joe is still staying ahead. The Smithy's well clear of all this now. Jimmy Metz getting himself back into play. And maybe this fight is going to heat up a little bit. Hope so, because it should be some pretty good entertainment if they do start fighting. The guys at the front aren't really doing much at the minute, unfortunately, but that's because they're so far apart. And they're all probably thinking about the long game right now, because it is only the 1/3 point of the race, and we don't know what the weather's going to do, but they do to a certain extent. And so they're definitely sort of, you know, they're driving their races around what the conditions are going to do. As we see, Stephen does get past Joe this time, and Joe does that understeer a little bit, so will Jimmy be trying to pounce on that at some point soon.
Stephen up to 6th position as Jamie looks to make amends on the Mercedes as Jason posts the fast stop of the race, and Wilkins has inherited that fast stop point away from him. Now, what I was going to say is Jason picks up a penalty now for track limits. That could be crucial later on. He's over 3 seconds in front anyway, but he won't want to be making too many more mistakes like that one. What I was going to say, though, before the fastest laps came in from Jason and Wilkins, TJW was the fastest man on track as Infamous comes in for a front wing change.
So that hit did do damage to his race. That is such a shame, because he was one of the leading drivers who had made his full set of pit stops, and so for the second time today his front wing is costing him positions. And yeah, that is a shame, because we mentioned it before, he had some good pace, and it's not going to come to anything on this occasion. But he's still in the race, so he can maybe get the fast at that point, or if we get a bit of attrition, maybe even get back into the top 12.
Jason continuing to pull away at the moment, but you don't want to be pushing too hard, considering that the track limits round here can really bite you very, very much, as Jason cautiously and nicely gets his way through turn 10 without any drama and posts the fastest lap of the race. Wilkins not able to beat that.
Yeah, so he is very much faster than Josh at the minute, Jason. He, as you say, just needs to keep an eye on those track limits, but if he can keep pulling away at this rate, it shouldn't affect him too much. But we'll need to keep our eye on it, because he certainly is. He's got so much confidence out there. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It's a lot of ERS as well being used by Jason, so perhaps that's an element to why he's so far ahead. You can see the difference is about 40% between the top two in this race, so perhaps that could be a factor. Josh, I guess, while the gap looks bad at the minute, if he does get within 3 seconds, he's instantly got the upper hand, because Jason would have to push to stay ahead, and Josh wouldn't even have to worry about making an overtake. As we see a bit more overtaking going on, Aidan and Ols going for it. That massive pack of cars are going for it as well. Jamie being overtaken by Jamie, who's up into P7, and Matthias trying to catch up on that too.
One driver you need to look out for as well, though, is Yoa, because at 2 corners in a row, or 3 corners in a row, he keeps going wide and exceeding track limits blatantly. So I just hope he doesn't keep doing that too many times during the course of, well, during the rest of the race, to be honest with you. So he's been overtaken by Jamie now. Jamie up into P7, technically P6 with Stephen's penalty. There's still time for things to change at the moment. Jamie recovering well after spinning out at the restart on the exit of turn number 1.
Oh, he's off again though, Jamie. Be careful there. He is struggling with that turn 1. Especially with the heavier cars in the early stages of the race as well, and the general wet conditions. I'm surprised more aren't having issues at turn 1 as Joe clatters the McLaren, and that'll be a pit stop. Absolutely, because that's a front wing in pieces down at turn 3. Is he still going to try and pass Jamie? I hope not, because if he sits on the inside of any car, he will take them both straight off, and he's hit Jamie again, look, so he's going to just have to be careful here, because that car's not going to slow down in the dirty air with damage in the wet. And you've got to be careful about the gravel traps here as well. Look at him, he's heading straight wide off at turn 6 as well as turn 5. It's a disaster now, isn't it?
He's understeering horribly through those corners. Yeah, you can see Alex Elliott getting past him, so I think we're going to see, Joe's front wing's damaged on the right hand side, so he's going to be most certainly coming into the pits for another front wing. Was he deciding to stay out there? He's got to be very careful. He's got to be careful. Oh, he nearly threw Mackie into the wall there. That's not good driving that from Joe. I'm sorry, but it's not.
It's unfortunate because he didn't anticipate the understeer, and then Indecisive was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But Joe, I suppose, maybe should have been more aware of how slow the car was going to be. He had just done the whole lap without the front wing, and that's the tightest part of it, getting into the pit lane. So he's going to take even more pain now on this lap, and he's trying to repass Indecisive as well. You don't want to do that because you're just going to send him off the road. Because you can't just fight side by side when you can't turn into the right-handers, and he's trying side by side into the right-handers. He has got through because Indecisive took himself off the road, but yeah. Oh dear, Joe, it's a shame for him. Both Mercedes, they arrived in the 11th hour as Alls now retires. Now looking for a safety car. There it is. Well, yeah. Joe's race has been saved. There you go. Yeah, that mistake has very quickly turned into a positive.
Yeah, I think Alls has caught the curb on the outside of turn 3 and he's crashed into the barrier. So Alls is the second driver to exit this race. He hasn't had a good night by any means, so his race has come to a premature close. At least all the field will still be on the lead lap. So Austria, who's way back in what will be now 18th place, can still get back on the lead lap here.
So no one looking at taking an early second stop, apart from Indecisive. Obviously Joe has to pit anyway because of his damage, but Tyres as well. I was just wondering, are these front guys not taking a second stop as TJW has been speeding under the safety car? That little a number pitting, is it all for front wing? Let's see. Indecisive, that didn't look for front wing, I don't think. So, I suppose these are pit stops to the end for Indecisive. Anyway, Matthias is a front wing. But only one car doing that then. Smithy obviously already was doing it, but I'm just wondering if we are going to go to dries, because there's that little amount of people actually pitting. But maybe it's just because the leaders hadn't actually had a chance to go round yet, I suppose. We'll see what the top sort of four do this time. Because obviously, I mean, if it isn't going to go to dry, then they're going to find themselves a Smithy, what, 2 seconds behind the race leader on this restart. Granted, with a penalty, but still with by far the better strategy.
Yeah. And just looking to see who else has made 2 stops in this one. Jess is the next one behind. Demon as well. So those two could go to the end of the race if they wanted to. Jess is most certainly aware of the 2-stop mandatory rule, so she can most certainly go to the end of the race. And yeah, this is going to be very interesting. I mean, one driver this has worked out badly actually now is TJW with that drive-through penalty. So that's his chances of points effectively gone now, to be quite honest with you.
Big opportunity just for Jess, isn't it? I didn't even realise she was that high up. Obviously, Demon too. I mean, that could be quite the mixed up result we end up getting, although Demon has just put it into the pit lane. But, I mean, Jess and Smithy theoretically could be 1-2 at some point in this race, if they can keep a somewhat competitive gap to the leaders, and they won't have to do it for long, surely, because the leading guys have to make a second stop. It's not a matter of, oh, they'll just stretch it to the end. It's in the rules. You've got to make a second stop. It's just whether that's to dries or not. But as it stands, I can't honestly say that it's going to dry up anytime soon. But we saw in Silverstone, it took, what, 3 or 4 laps after it stopped raining, and they were all on dries.
Yeah.
A bit of a shorter lap here, but yeah.
I don't know what TJW is playing at. I think he's trying to get the drive-through penalty done, but you can't do that under a safety car. You can only do it under green flag conditions.
Yes, well, that might keep the safety car out a little bit longer as well, now him taking that extra stop, because I think the game does like to wait for every single car to catch up. So he's just given himself one less lap to recover from that drive-through, ironically, which he'll obviously still have to take. So yeah, we could be waiting a while for this thing to restart. Obviously that first safety car lasted 4 laps. We could be on for another one now.
Well, the safety car, the thing is, the safety car sort of stops before turn 3 and then waits to pick up the leader. So it's still technically 3 laps under the safety car, if you see where I'm coming from here, Owen. But I do see where you're coming from with that, though. Bearing in mind it is a short circuit, is the Red Bull Ring. 4.3 kilometres, but the amount of lap time, or the lap time you can produce, can be very short. It's one of the shortest of the season, if not the shortest. I mean, the Sakhir Grand Prix on the outer loop, you could set times in less than a minute.
Yeah. I just want to quickly check something. Sorry, I'm looking up. We've got a bit of time. Shall we quickly talk about what the drivers also said? Because I just realised during that safety car that They were also asked about what would happen in this race if you know, say we had stuff happening in the race. How would they plan on mixing things up to get a good result? I'd say we're in a position for drivers to think about mixing things up. Jamie was one of the drivers who said he didn't want to get any penalties. I think a couple of them did that as well. But when it came to like the conditions, the likes of Aidan was saying, you know, he would do whatever he needs to do based on what the conditions. Baza had been thinking about late safety cars and how they could affect things. This isn't necessarily a late safety car, but he's sort of he knows what sort of situation this is, so he'll have been thinking about it. And who else is saying stuff? I think Jess had mentioned about herself being consistent and not getting any penalties. I'd say she's very much doing that right now, and it's her answer in particular which could prove at the end of this race to be oh so wise, because she's being consistent. Whatever battles she's had, she's come out of them without any major issues, and if she keeps this with no penalties, she could have her best ever day in one hub.
And do you know what? I would put her in the hot list for today for keeping her car out of trouble. I know she had a bit of front wing damage at the start, but the fact that she got back into it and kept it clean from then on in has put her as a contender for the hot list for today, don't you think?
I think absolutely, yeah. I mean, if she can certainly convert as well and finish this race strong as well, she would be up there, I think. Has it been an accident? Or did drivers just get very, very close? Safety car's in this lap. I'm just going to quickly check the task there. I know that they'd normally give penalties, but I thought AlphaTauris were hitting each other. It could be a bit more desync again, I suppose, but I just want to quickly have a look. Just to check. Stephen has broken his front wing.
Yeah, there's plenty of drivers.
Yeah, there's more collisions happening. Collisions happening.
Yeah. We'll go back to the leaders then, because we're about to get underway. We've got 15 laps to go in this Austrian Grand Prix, and the prospects here in One Hub Racing. Jason, who's done everything right, minus the three... Oh, Fozzie Bear's out!
No, there was a lot of slowing down going on in that back straight. Has it caught Fozzie Bear out, or did Josh Wilkins brake too much? Either way, penalties for Josh Wilkins, no finishing for Fozzie Bear, and the race is back underway. And, I mean, as a result of all this, our net race leader has suddenly become Jamie Met, if he can get no penalties. And how is Josh Wilkins doing? Has he got damage himself? He's just gone straight off the road? What a dramatic restart. And I'm just checking. Is Baza going to go for the move? I'm not seeing any extra damage in Josh Wilkins' car after he got hit. Stephen is fighting away with Jamie Met, and look at Alex Lilliard diving up the inside. He's now into that sort of net leading position because there's so many 5-second penalties out there. All these guys who have those 5 seconds will have to take them at their pit stops, and this is going to be another mixed up order very soon indeed. I think we'll see if Fozzie Bear is going to have anything to say about this. We'll see if the stewards do much about it, and obviously you can watch back the stream later on, but it looked to me there was a lot of slowing down and speeding up going on, as usual, on a safety car restart. I wonder if it was just a bit too much for Fozzie to react to, especially as they went uphill. Did that just maybe confuse him a little bit?
Well, Alex and Jamie just got in front of Stephen. Stephen has struggled on the first lap of the restart. And one thing I was going to say was the incident that Fozzie Bear had wasn't as frightening as what he had 2 weeks ago at Spa, but the result is still very much the same. And Aidan's smashed his front wing there. Not completely off, but he's definitely damaged it enough to definitely come back into the pits.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a very big moment in Jason's championship, because he's just seen his teammate out, and that's Joer off the road now as well at turn 1. He's going to get that one spun back round after a few donuts, but he will get himself back into the race. But like I say, Jason, he leads the race. He's now found himself with the least amount of penalties in that top 4, which is important. Well, sorry, Smithy also only has 3 seconds, and I guess he isn't actually pitting again, is he, unless we dry up, which it is getting a little bit close to, so I wonder actually if we will go to dry conditions. But regardless, Jason is in a good position to take the win here, and there's a potential for Josh Wilkins and Baza to maybe fall out of the podium positions, which would mean that Wilkins might only finish 4th, 5th, could be a title fight, but It's so hard to tell even now as Jess fights away with Indecisive, who's going way off the road. He has front wing damage to his Red Bull, so that'll be into the pits as well. And the race, it keeps getting flipped on its head. It's just been flipped again. There's a penalty for Baza.
There is. So Baza, currently in 3rd place on the road, has picked himself up 3 more seconds due to track limits. That takes the total to 8, which is not what he needed. But Alex Hilliard, like you say, he's very much on form on the restart. He's most certainly a contender to win this race. If Wilkins doesn't do it, well, there's a chance that Alex Hilliard could do the same. And Fozziber's retirement, that's a very bad dent to his championship hopes.
Yes. I think that's exactly the type of thing that Josh Wilkins was talking about last week, if you remember. He says if he was going to win the championship, Fozzie would need to make another big mistake. That looks like it has been made. And, yeah, it is playing in Josh's favour. He's not in a position though where he has to sort of put pressure on Jason now and try and find himself in the lead of this race anytime soon. He's going to do something. And he is setting purple sectors now. He's pulled nicely away from Baza. And are we going to see this fight taken to an on-track scrap? And that would be very interesting to see between these two at the front, Jason and Josh. They've just got to keep this thing on the road. I know it's been a messy one for them, but they've just got to keep it all going. Whatever's happening behind, ignore it and just focus on what's happening now, because with only 2 rounds to go after this, as long as they can finish strong as Jason goes off to Narnia, they can just make themselves the only 2 competitors for this title. But we'll see how they all handle this situation. It's probably the most dramatic race we've seen all season, and it's a long way from over.
And look at Matthias. Matthias has just got past Jess. Matthias finding his way through the field as well in the Haas. He started at the very back of the field. He's got 5 seconds worth of time penalty, but with the way he's performing this when Stephen goes off the track, he's very much struggling in these conditions, to be honest with you, with Stephen, despite being in P7. Infamous is in 8th place now, despite the front wing damage he picked up earlier on.
I think Josh Wilkins' middle sector, I don't know if you've been seeing him, but he is super strong through there. And he's been saving more ERS than Jason. This is just so difficult to try and call. Remember, this top 3 still have to make a second pit stop in this race. As do 5th, 6th, 7th, as you know, as you say, Infamous he's made a really decent recovery, and it shows. Because we could still see Smithy and Infamous right up there towards the end of this thing. Because we're running out of laps and this track is not drying up. And
Steve,
if it doesn't dry up, it means they're going to have to pit for more enters. It means Smithy and Infamous, they won't have to pit.
Yeah, they don't want to leave it too late at the moment. I would say give it 5 more laps and then make a decision. As Indecisive Mac has picked up another time penalty. Anossi goes up to 11th position. So he's starting to find a bit more form now as he goes past Joa into P11.
You definitely want to stay tuned to this one, people, because the rain, it's spitting. It is spitting, but as long as it keeps spitting, that's enough if you're Smithy. If the rain's going to stop for him, he'd need it to stop, well, let's say, lap 32, lap 33, for the track to maybe have enough time just to not quite dry. So he needs about a 5-lap buffer here for when this rain stops, and he might just have a chance here. But I'm sure he's praying as Jason picks up another time penalty. I believe. Does that put him back? Oh, it does. It puts Josh Wilkins into the lead of the race as they trade fastest laps. And that'll be incentive now for Josh Wilkins to also start begging that this rain stops, because it would mean, or doesn't stop, because it would mean at the very least, if he stays here, he'll guaranteed beat the main championship rival that's still left in the race. And in reality, that's all that actually matters. But this rain is seconds away from stopping now. I think it's going to stop literally on this lap, if not right now, because it's effectively finished. So they'll be pitting soon. I think Smithy, will he try and go to the end on the intermediates, or will we have a proper sprint to the finish? Because I tell you what, oh, this could be big. Are we going to see a safety car? Virtual. Ooh, do you think about a pit stop on the virtual safety car? Full safety car. Okay, people, this is interesting, because are we gonna see anyone risk a pit stop to dries now, catch up to the train, that the safety car is going to build. Because look on the mini-map, Tom, that safety car will pick the leaders up. Is Jason going to pit for dries?
He's pitting.
Yes, he is. Oh, and is Justin as well? He is. They're all pitting. Smithy's made such a late decision. These guys are all going to pit for dries. It has to be dries, doesn't it? The rain is still coming down, but I suppose it will have to stop. And so we're going to see all these guys running around on what tyre? Softs. It's softs. Jason goes out on the softs, and it's still raining. And Josh Wilkins, how much is he going to lose with his time penalty? Baza has to take one as well. It's going to hold up Alex Lilliard too. And I have a feeling that you might see Jimmy Mack gaining 1 or 2 positions out of this. Baza has taken all of his penalties now, I believe. Matthias has stayed out. Has Matthias, or sorry, has Baza? I just want to check it because he could be sitting here with... No, he still has a penalty left. He's got a free sitting penalty left. I don't want to get too excited here, folks, but Baza right now, when all these pit stops shake out, could win this race. Could. But Jimmy Met could also win this race. Alex Lilliard could win this race. Jason's in kind of a massively bad position, and we're going to see Josh Wilkins trying to push through, and we'll see what he can get up to. But if he gets stuck behind Matthias, he might have troubles. I just don't know what to do. Josh Wilkins has got to prove his championship potential now, really, doesn't he? Because if he doesn't, Baza or Jamie Metz, or even Jason, will nick a victory off of him. But the track is still wet. You've got to remember this. Track is still wet. You could easily make a mistake on a restart.
As illustrated by Wilkins and Fozzie Bear at the end of the last restart, I was very tempted to argue with what you were saying. The track is still wet. I'm still not sure whether Jason, Wilkins, Buzzer, Jamie and Alex are on the right tyres. Because you can still see the amount of spray being kicked up by the safety car. That's just coming from the safety car alone. A safety car that has wheel arches fitted, unlike with a open wheel single-seater. There's still too much spray being kicked up. So by the time the restart is back on the way, Jason and Wilkins are going to be far too vulnerable to those on the intermediate. So Jess could all of a sudden be a contender for the race victory.
I agree with you, and do you know what? The more I'm saying of this, and the more I'm saying your argument, let's just remember how long safety cars around here last. You're not going to be drying the track very much at this sort of low speed. And the tyres are going to be stone cold. And so if you are on intermediate, you're not going to have to do a massive amount of laps on them to the end of this race. So if you're on intermediate right now, the track is still wet. The spray is disappearing, but I mean, Jason having to try and lead the pack on that restart isn't exactly going to be comfortable. Let's just see what happens. The spray's a little bit more in the middle sector. It's on the sort of straights where it's a bit less. And that's not really where it matters. It's on those corner exits and in the middle sector. Oh, it's a shame the pack is so separate, isn't it? I wish we could go green now and just see what happens.
I'm going to interrupt you because Aidan's coming back into the pits. I think he's going back onto a set of intermediates. I just saw him struggle to get through turn 8, or turn 7 and 8 and 9. I think it's just him going back onto the intermediates. Or was it another set of the softs? I think he's damaged his front wing actually. So he's staying on the soft compound. He's got to hope he doesn't go down the lap actually. I think he should be okay actually. So Jason's still in the race lead. Matthias decides the time is right to go to slicks. So I don't know what to say at this point now. Jess, he's very much... Well, Jess is staying out on it. She thinks...
Alex Lilliard's pitted off softs. I don't think anyone really knows what they're doing at this stage of the race. But I guess what they're not aware of is that since Aidan's just been in the pits, the safety car's out for another couple of laps. Alex Lilliard's pitting onto brand new intermediates. So he is one of the most experienced drivers in this league, and he thinks that intermediates are the tire to be on, and he's going to be on these at some decent pace just for a little bit of time. Let's see what sort of spray is being lifted up out of this car as he blasts down the back straight. It looks not too bad out of the pit lane. Oh, what do you do in this situation? I don't think I've ever seen a league race like this, where just do not know what tire is right to be on. I'm hoping and praying at this point that the game, no offence to Aidan, he's a good driver, I'm sure he's not wanting it to go green, but I want the safety car in this lap. It's in this lap, folks. I'm excited. You should be too, because let's look at Aidan, right? Because Aidan's going to be trying to go as fast as he possibly can, and he's not able to make any of the corners. As Josh Wilkins and Jess swap positions, they just got to make sure they don't have any accidents. But Aidan cannot make the corners. He's having some disastrous sectors out there at the minute. And these tyres are not working at all. They're not working. They are not working.
I'm not sure if Jason... I think Jason's going to be ruining his words
at
the moment. And Aidan's out of the race. He's crashed.
And there's another one as well. Matthias has crashed as well. These are drivers that are crashing on the softs. And Jason's somehow going to do a restart on them with this much spray. The long-term benefit, if you can keep it on the road, might be enough, but I'm not too sure this is the right tyre to be on. There's way too much spray as we restart the race, and Jess has got to hold her nerve right now, because I said she could be on for a good result. I didn't think she'd win the race. Look at this. She's the quickest car out there. As Josh Wilkins starts to close in, there's fighting going all over the show. The Storm is up there now. Smithy as well. Intermediate runners are looking fantastic. A side by side for the race lead. Go Jason and Josh. They're way too slow. Look at Smithy. He's lost it himself, but he keeps it on the road. Jess isn't being aggressive enough. She should be the one winning this race, but it could end up being Smithy. But as I say, she still leads this race. Does Jess, as her teammate crashes into her, and off the track goes, oh, look at that. There goes Jason. And Jess, and this is not a drill, Jess is the race leader. But she's got to stay within 3 seconds of Smithy unless he has any issues. But I think on the newer tyres, he should be okay. As Baz is gone, Josh Wilkins is gone. We're losing the quicker drivers at a rate of knots. Alex Lilliard's flying along as well, but we have another safety car, and that is going to help Jess's case even more.
I think
oh my god!
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Looking at Smithy's time for 3 seconds, Storm is coming into the pits. I think for new. I think is he going to? Don't tell me he's going to go into dries, is he?
Look at Jason. Jason stays out. Jason is committing to this. And is Josh going to as well? Yes, he is. So, a lot of these soft runners are still staying out there. But this safety car will probably be in with, 2 laps to go. And that track looked way too wet on that restart. We saw those soft tyres literally drowning. And as I mentioned before, the tyres, they can't get any heat into them. That's the biggest issue. So even if the track is dry enough, they're so cold by the time the track's ready that you can't take any advantage of it. And that's the big issue we've got. Now, Alex Lilliard, what's he going to be thinking right now? Because I fear he's going to win this race. And the reason I say fear is because of that incident earlier on. Is TJW going to have a grudge? Is he going to want to investigate the incident? Because if he does, I can't see them not giving him a penalty for it, Alex, for jamming the brakes on the main straight. Unless the game has told him at the last minute, you've got to let a driver through, and that's why he's done it. Because if he crosses this line and wins this race and has it taken away from him, I couldn't possibly imagine how painful that's going to be to deal with.
So the safety car remaining out there. I think it's going to be one more lap before the safety car comes in, to be honest with you. So Smithy is in good position, but Jess, you have to feel... I mean, she's on very old intermediates, but a lot of the laps that she's done under those have been under the safety car. So
yeah,
you've got to give her some credit to see where she is at the moment. She needs to be more aggressive on the restart than she has been for a lot of this season. But having said that, this is by far her best performance this season.
I think there's a podium in this for her regardless now. But I can't help but feel she's got a massive chance to win this race. Like, a massive chance. Because unless Jason's tyres come in, I really think she can win this race. I think the safety car will go in at the end of this lap, so it'll be every 3 laps she's got to not lose 3 seconds in. I don't know if she can do it.
No,
but if she manages it, it would be incredible. But I think a podium should be there regardless, which would be just a stunning result anyway. But this is just I've never seen a league race like this, and I've been commentating on the F1 games. This is my 5th F1 game I've commentated on. I've seen everything, but not this.
No, definitely not. The safety car, there's no news yet from race control whether the safety car is going to be coming in. Now, if it is going to stay out there for one more lap, that would be good news for Jess, actually, because that's one less lap of green flag conditions. As you can see, Smithy back in the pack up at the moment. And I think the safety car is going to be staying out there for one more lap because Matthias has not quite caught up the back of the queue yet. But we'll see in a moment.
This is massive.
It's coming in.
It is going in. Oh.
Here we go then. It's a 3-lap shootout to the finish then. Some drivers are on the intermediates, others are on slicks.
I have no idea what to expect. Smithy is still putting up a lot of spray right now, which should be good if you're an intermediate runner. And he's bolted out of the final corner. And we are on to 3 absolutely crucial laps. Demon is already all over the back of Jason, so that tells me that his tyres are still not quite in the window yet. As we head through turn 1, Jason has no grip whatsoever. Demon is going through, but Jason's still crucially ahead of Josh, but has got the penalty. Alex Lilliart is taking the lead of this race as he goes through on Jess, and if he picks a penalty up after this race, he'll be inconsolable. He's got the massive chance though. He's going to have to talk some proper sweet talk to TJW to try and convince us, because I don't think he'd be able to control his emotions if he loses this one. I hope for his sake almost that he falls 3 seconds behind, but we'll see what happens. But this is one of the most experienced drivers in league racing and in this league in general. We've been through it all with him, and he said it himself. He'd be disappointed not to come out of the season with his first ever victory. Well, he's just 2 laps away from it, thanks to the penalty that Smithy has got.
So Smithy still continuing on his way. Alex Lilliart continuing to close in. Jess looking comfortable in 3rd place, but she's got Demon waiting to pounce on the back of her. Demon's CRS has run out on this lap, so they'll give Jess a little bit of breathing space. Amazingly, Jason is still in 5th place.
Who got a penalty there?
TJW.
Smithy's got a penalty! Smithy's got a penalty! That's massive news! That means he's going to make 4 seconds on this lap, so he's not going to win the race! And if Alex gets a penalty, that means that we're watching Jess versus Demon for a potential win! I can't believe what I'm saying, because Jason's 6 seconds down. That second penalty for Smithy means that we're watching Demon. I think he's the one to watch if Alex ends up getting a penalty, which I fear he might. And he always starts from the back, doesn't he?
He does.
Where exactly was he? Was he last? No, he was 18th. But it could still be an 18th to 1st as Joer continues to move up the field, passing Josh Wilkins, who's looking still good to beat Jason. But right now, do you know what? Demon's got to make this move now, because 5.6 seconds Jess is behind Smithy. Demon's now picked up a penalty. So this is all really on Jess now and on Alex Lilliart on this final lap to not fall behind 6 seconds. DRS is enabled, so that's a sign that the softs are ready. But like I said, if you were already on the softs, they're probably too cold to make them work at this point. And so I'm watching this final lap from the perspective of Jess and from Alex in another way, because either of these 2 drivers could be about to pick up their first ever victories, and as it stands, it might come down to the steward's room, because Jess now has just fallen behind 6 seconds, and that could actually then mean it'd be Smithy who wins the race. But all I'm going to say is it basically means that this is going to go to the stewards. Okay, we'll put it this way: we'll announce a winner, we'll do our driver today, but we're going to have to put the biggest disclaimer out there, because of the incident that happens on that first restart. This will have to go to the stewards. But Tom, take it away regardless.
Smithy's about to complete his final lap here at the Red Bull Ring. It's been that sort of race. Unlike any other race, Smithy's going to come through and win on the roads. For the time being, at least, Alex Lilliart in the Alfa Romeo is going to win the Prospect Tier race here in Austria. He wins the Austrian Grand Prix, for now at least. Smithy drops to 2nd. Jess is on the podium for Alpine in 3rd place. By far her best results of the season. She'll be absolutely delighted with that. We've just seen Demon cross over the line first. We've just seen the Williams go through the DRS polystyrene ball on the pit straight. So, Demon 4th, Wilkins 5th, Metz 6th, Euro 7, Jason 8th, Storm 9, Matthias in 10th. With all the penalties applied. We'll run down on the race order, on the classification, but what a race it's been, Owen.
Yeah, that really did just flip on its head so many times. And in the end, we've ended up with a top 3 that nobody would ever have expected. And at the very least, he's able to stand on the top step, is Alex Lilliart. And he, for now, is a first-time race winner. And I guess we'll just have to see what happens in the steward's office. I hope for his sake he keeps it. I don't think people in his tier are very sort of hostile, let's say. So I hope they'll let him keep it. Smithby as well, what a performance from him. He made his strategy work perfectly. Just seeing what the penalties he picked up in the end. And Jess as well, she was the only driver who actually did that original 2-stop and finished as high as she did. So pitting right at the start and sticking to your guns and not pitting again when everyone else was in those last safety cars, it's given her a podium finish, and I don't think she would ever have expected that. And so, I mean, she's done everything she said she would. Like I say, I brought up her comments again, and I'll read to you in a minute. Go over the race results, actually.
Okay, so Alex wins for the first time in One Hub Racing, albeit he will be under investigation for that first safety car restart. Smithy in second, Jess third on the podium. Very well done to her. Demon fourth on the back of the grid. Wilkins in fifth, but at least he extends his lead at the top of the championship with 2 races to go. Jamie is in 6th place, Joe is 7th, Jason 8th and getting the point for the fast lap out of those in the top 10. Storm in 9th, not too bad a result for him, and Matthias in 10th after starting last. Mackie in 11th, TJW in 12th and getting a point for the fast lap out of those that finished outside the top 10. Stephen 13th, Infamous in 14th and the last of the finishers. Bazza retired, as did Aidan. Kia retired on debut. Fozzie Bear crashed out. That's a significant one in terms of the championship. Ols also retired, and Waste crashed out on the opening lap. So, have you found those answers of which Jess has come up with, Owen?
Yeah. So basically the question was, I'll reiterate this again because it's the best sort of way an answer is being translated into a result that I've seen so far this season. Basically the question was, how are you planning on mixing things up to get a good result? And she said, be consistent, have good battles and don't get the pens. And the fact she liked Austria in the rain as well, and she made pretty much everything she said she would work. And that's what being consistent does for you. It gets those upset results on a day like this. And yeah, I couldn't be happier for her. You can probably tell she's my driver today as well, just from making that strategy work. The only one to go that far in the intermediates, even when the track was getting to the point where either tyre was a bad choice when those were that old. So she's my candidate. Who's yours?
My candidate for driver of the day, I'm gonna give it to. Should I give it to Smithy or should I give it to Demon? I'll give it to Demon because the penalty came for him on the penultimate lap, but the way he carved his way through the field was absolutely sensational. And my question for him was, it was pretty much a game of musical chairs today. You know, accident and safety car, accident, safety car. You looked like no chance of finishing anywhere near where you ended up. But how did you survive, considering that some of the field gambled on slicks on such a damp racetrack?
Yes, and I'll give Jess my question as well. You had the strategy in your mind, surely, from the start of the race, but did you ever, at the end of that race, think of pitting to fresher tyres? And saying out, did you think a result this good was actually possible? So that's sort of my double, triple layered question for Jess. I'm sure she'll dig into that one eventually. I'll give my time now to quickly thank all of our partners and sponsors as well. They make fantastic races like this possible. Next Level Racing, they sponsor the league by providing the direct drive stand to the driver of the season. 3M Sim Racing, they sponsor the league by providing a pair of their sim racing gloves to the driver with the most combined poles and fastest laps. And of course our partners, Vespertine, who support our championship prizes, and ERT, who partner the ERT Going Gets Tough Award. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Owen, for mentioning all that. I just want to have a look at the championship standings post that, and I think with Josh getting 10 points for finishing in 5th place, that extends the gap between himself and Fozzie Bear to 19 going into the penultimate round of the season in Austin in 7 days' time. Owen, thank you very much for joining me in the commentary box. This has been by far the race of the season in the prospects here. We've still got 2 more races to come. Could they be even better than this one? Austin and Imola? Who knows? But definitely Red Bull Ring puts on a brilliant display for the fans, drivers, and for us in the commentary box, and today was no exception. Do make sure you stay tuned to the One Hub Racing, because there's the other races happening. The points tier that's going on. It's currently streamed on One Hub Racing's YouTube channel. There's also the podium tier, followed by the precision tier and the pinnacle tier, the last one of the evening. We'll be back same time next week, 6 p.m. British summer time, for the penultimate round in Austin, so do make sure you tune in for then. I'm Tom Cairns, he's Owen Wyatt, returns.